Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into some pretty fresh market insights. The source is Daily Alpha from June 20th, 2025. You can think of this as your shortcut, really, to understanding the pulse of the crypto and digital asset world right now. Our mission, as always, is to pull out the key nuggets, see what's actually moving the needle. We're talking corporate adoption, institutional interest, and well, some interesting shifts happening just below the surface.
Exactly. And what's really key here isn't just looking at these data points in isolation. It's about how they connect. When you sort of stitch them together, they tell a much bigger story, a story about innovation, adoption, and frankly, the path towards, mainstream integration for the whole digital economy.
Okay, so let's unpack this. There's a fascinating paradox right at the start. We've got this big HYPE token unstaking event happening. That's, what, 2.38 million tokens? But $91 million was drawn from this popular DeFi project. But at the same time, Lion Group, big investment firm, lots of digital asset holdings, their stock just jumped 20% after they announced a $600 million facility. So what's going on there?
Well, it really highlights the two sides of the coin, doesn't it? On one hand, unstaking can definitely create some short-term selling pressure. Those tokens become liquid. But then you have this huge institutional backing signal from Lion Group, that $600 million facility. That screams long-term confidence. The source actually mentions an institutional adoption wave for HYPE specifically. So it suggests this kind of ebb and flow. It's just part of a much larger, more foundational growth trend.
Okay, that makes sense, like short-term noise versus long-term signal. And speaking of things really picking up speed, let's talk stablecoins. Circle's stock just hit an all-time high, $200, right? A 41% surge.
Incredible.
And USDC supply hit $250 billion. It's a massive milestone.
Yeah, it really is. And it just emphasizes this acceleration in stablecoin dominance. And if you connect that to the regulatory side, the Genius Act, that's designed to let traditional banks get into the stablecoin game. That could be huge. Banks bring, massive distribution power. Their entry could really reshape the whole competitive landscape, pushing stablecoins even further into the mainstream.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting for me. The big money moves. We're seeing major players stepping in, like BlackRock buying over 6,000 ETH. That's $15.1 million.
Right.
And H100 Group adding 144.8 Bitcoin, another $15 million roughly.
Right.
Plus Blockchain Group with 182 Bitcoin.
Exactly. This isn't just like one or two players dipping their toes in anymore. It's a clear signal of accelerated adoption, corporate, institutional, across different sectors. It shows they're getting comfortable making strategic investments, not just speculation, but using these assets for treasury management. And it's not just Bitcoin and ETH either. Look at Solana, that institutional wave continues. Meme Strategy bought 2,440 SOL. The 3IQ ETF has capped 14 million in monthly inflows.
Right, good point. And shifting gears slightly to protocol performance. The numbers are impressive. Hyperliquid maintaining $337.95 million in annualized revenue. Solana grabbing 60% of all dApp revenue. That's huge.
Yeah.
And Arbitrum's stablecoin TVL hit $7 billion. 75% growth year over year.
These metrics really do underscore the health and the innovation happening in DeFi. I mean, the whole DeFi lending market just hit a record $55 billion in total value locked. And that's driven by real upgrades like AAVE's V4 architecture. It shows utility, user engagement, the ecosystem is maturing.
The source also flagged a couple of, well, not trade advice, obviously, but interesting analysis points, like useless token, seeing some interest from Korean traders, maybe some retail FOMO building. And Choice PE, again, noted for that institutional adoption, despite the unstaking we mentioned, just shows what the market's watching.
Yeah, and looking ahead slightly, that this week section in the source, things like the Brick Binance listing, the Zilliqa upgrade, U2U getting multiple CEX listings, it just highlights the constant motion, It never really stops. Development, integration, it's nonstop.
Okay, let's zoom out for the big picture, the macro view. You've got the U.S. Treasury Secretary apparently calling crypto the most important phenomena in the world. That's quite a statement.
It really is.
And Bitwise projecting a 30x demand versus supply imbalance. Wow.
It definitely raises a big question, right? How fast is traditional finance actually catching up to all this? You look at South Korea planning crypto ETF approvals for later this year, H2 2025. And BBVA, a major global bank, now officially recommending clients allocate 7% to Bitcoin. That's not fringe anymore. That's mainstream integration happening on a global scale.
So pulling it all together, we've got this sort of quiet but really undeniable acceleration in stablecoins. We have clear, concrete, institutional and corporate buy-in for digital assets, and this relentless innovation just powering DeFi forward.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating is how all these little pieces, these individual data points, when you put them together, they paint a really compelling picture. It's a picture of a maturing digital economy, one that's becoming more and more integrated. It's clearly moving beyond being just a niche. It feels like a foundational layer for what's next in finance.
Yeah, definitely feels that way. So thinking about all these moves we've discussed, especially the institutional nods, the regulatory shifts, it makes you wonder what new kinds of traditional financial products might pop up next. Products that really bridge that gap between old finance and new finance. Something for you all to think about. We'll leave you with that thought.